We are a nation obsessed with evaluating our children, with calibrating their exact distance from some ideal benchmark. In the name of excellence, we test and measure them, and we rejoice or despair over the results. The sad thing is that though we strain to see, we miss so much. Those harshly affected possess some of our greatest unperceived riches.
What I get from performance-based assessments is the child. Standardized tests will never give you that. They test by proxy, that's what Paula Mayhew says. So performance-based assessments get you close to that child. Open your pages up and go to page 2. These are your standards. These are your standards.
8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20.
Charlotte Higuchi teaches a diverse class of ungraded 3rd and 4th grade students at Farndale Elementary School in East Los Angeles. With support from the National Center for Research on Evaluation, Standards, and Student Testing and the American Federation of Teachers, Charlotte combines teacher research with her own practical knowledge of classroom instruction to better evaluate the whole child.
What did you learn?
When I talk about assessing the whole child, I want to know the child's intellectual, social, and personal growth. Intellectual includes, of course, the academics and the skills like reading, computation, but also thinking and being able to solve problems, to take a risk. I want to see if they're willing to do that. Raymond.
The way the writing is, so I can understand it.
Ah, so the picture, right? What? Goes
With the writing.
Okay, good. Good guess. All right, next.
You can?
Okay.
In order to assess multiple dimensions of a student's abilities, various types of assessments are necessary.
Help.
At the beginning of each academic year, Charlotte conducts an extensive one-on-one evaluation of each of her children using a combination of standardized and performance-based assessments. Teacher judgment guides her selection and use of each evaluation instrument.
The series of tests or assessments that I give now are first a San Diego Quickie, because that gives me a very quick assessment of word recognition. The second thing that I give them is the BASIS, which is a closed test where you read a passage and you leave out words and you put in a word that makes sense. What that gives me is a pretty accurate assessment of where a child is as far as literal comprehension is.
So he huff, and he puff, and he huff.
During the year, Charlotte uses a variety of performance assessments, including portfolios, self-evaluations, exhibitions, and journals to assess the progress of her children. Measuring more than just a superficial knowledge of formulas, terms, and procedures, Charlotte's use of interdisciplinary methods enables her to evaluate deep student comprehension of concepts, writing skills, and the learning process itself.
Ah, what is an entry? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. What is a math journal entry? We talk about that all the time in our free writing one.
When you explain something you did.
It's the things that you write in your. I introduced then the math journal because they had reached a certain level of competency in being able to write. And the purpose of those math journals for assessment, I'm trying to record their progress and how well they can write a process. And I'm also trying to teach the essence of math. And to me, the essence of mathematics is the search for patterns. Because patterns will help you predict something. And actually, the search for patterns is the underlining skill for all sophisticated thought. I give them a task, whatever it is, or I'm teaching them a certain unit, and the first thing I started them off with was just explaining it. Just explain your task. And then I asked them how they feel, because that's pretty easy. And I asked for a picture, because that's what some of them couldn't do that in the beginning. They couldn't. It was such a terrible thing for them to start thinking in math that way. I asked them to draw the picture first and then write about it. Then I asked them, what are the patterns? And then I asked them to explain the patterns. I asked them what was hard, what was easy, and what did they learn.
So the other important part is that you say what you learned, or in learned, let's put down, I'm going to put in parenthesis, patterns, okay? That you found patterns. Now, close your notebooks right now, because I want you to think very hard about how are you going to select your best? What are you looking for? What's important about a math journal entry? Peter?
When it explains the problem, how you got the answer.
Okay. So
Guided by Charlotte, the students develop a class-wide scoring rubric for their math journals, building reasoning skills in the process. Research indicates that performance assessments are most effective when based on well-defined standards clearly understood by all students. For Charlotte, the journal serves many important purposes, including self-evaluation.
The math journals are a part of self-evaluation. Well, they're part of math and self-evaluation. And what I ask them to do is to pick their best piece. And we define that together. So all those things the children wrote on the board are all the things I look for. And what I look for is how each child is attaining those skills and abilities.
3. Give an example of the problem.
3. Given an example of the problem.
4. Explain how to do the problem.
Once upon a time, there were 3 bears who lived in a little house in the woods. Father Bear was a very big bear.
Exhibitions and student projects are an alternative method of assessing student performance. Charlotte uses projects to measure not only student knowledge, but student initiative, independence, and student ability to evaluate each other's effort. These are important components that will eventually prepare children for the workplace.
What I gave them was a structure that they already know anyway. What is your project? How are you going to do it? What supplies do you need? And they did it. I was totally flabbergasted.
I was a script person. I was Goldilocks. I was Little Bear. I was Mommy Bear. I was Papa Bear.